not hit pause on this one because we've got an action-packed episode for you today. Drew, kick us off, man.
So jumping right into it, Stargate, which is now America's AI infrastructure, they have SoftBank financing it, Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, kind of as an advisor, and then Sam Altman, Elon's boy, so that's going to be interesting, is heading up the functional and operational aspect of it. They already have a 1 million square foot data center in Texas that's going up now, and they already outlined their next project. So what do you think this is going to do for the future of America's AI?
I mean, this is a very big move. And I think that in terms of places that you could be making an investment, making it into AI is exactly the place to do it. I didn't know that AI was this on Trump's radar. When he was first talking with Masa-san of SoftBank, I didn't realize that this was the plan. I just knew that he was trying to get Masa-san to invest $100 billion in US companies, I thought. And so that he's targeting AI is really important. I mean, look, my whole thesis is that AI, in the way that software ate the world, AI is going to eat everything, including human souls, much to my dismay. And I think that really does begin in 2025. But just like I say, when it comes to America First, us staying at the top of the hierarchy is really critical. Right now, from what I've heard, China is really beginning to pull away on AI. They certainly have us on robotics. They have us on drones. I think that's going to matter a lot militarily. And then whoever wins the ASI race, artificial superintelligence, you could get into a fast takeoff scenario where it does become winner take all. Now, hopefully that's a low probability, but nonetheless, you cannot play around with AI. And everybody had their eye on the prize, which is the infrastructure is going to be the problem. And you see Microsoft spinning up 3 Mile Island. I don't know if that trips people out as much as it does me. They are bringing nuclear facilities online for private companies. I mean, it's just absolute insanity. So very exciting to see the US making these big investments. And when I think of what America First means, it means being the strongest economic and military power on planet Earth. And we are not going to get there without a ton of energy, without a ton of cooling, which for people that don't really pay attention to computers might not think about how important that's going to be. And then just the raw infrastructure of the data centers, the cabling, all of that stuff is going to be really, really important. And I think people will really begin to understand what this is when you realize that as far as we can tell, the only thing that separates, say, monkeys from humans is compute. Meaning if you stack enough neurons, it really does just keep getting more and more intelligent. So the size of the data center is the same as having a bigger and bigger brain. And unlike humans who are limited by a woman's desire to walk upright, that is not a joke. The size of our head is limited by what we can squeeze out the birth canal. And so computers just aren't going to have that limitation. And so as the data centers continue to get bigger, as our supply of energy continues to grow, theoretically, there's no known limit to the level of intelligence that we can build.
And that's exactly where I was going with it. We have a 1 million square foot facility. We have a private nuclear nuclear site going live. Is this what America needs to be number one in AI, or do you think?
Yes.
Period. Full stop.
Dude, and more and more and more. Like this is really going to be a fascinating time because you're going to bring something online that theoretically will make life a lot better. It will extend all of our abilities. We're going to go through a meaning crisis. There can be no getting around that. We're going to go through a jobs crisis. And I think there's going to be a super weird feedback loop between as AI comes online and more companies stop hiring first and then begin shrinking their workforces using AI. That's going to create this need for money printing so that we can take care of people with either UBI or something like it. It's just going to happen so fast. I don't see a way around printing. So you've got AI creating this short-term need to print money, which will drive more people into technology-driven things like Bitcoin as a flight to financial security. And so we'll create a flywheel in the short term that will be very, what do they call it? Creative destruction. So it will bring something better, but it is going to be rough, man. So I look at this and I'm like, it's the right play. And all the while I'm also holding my breath of like, I don't even know what it means for us. So it's not like, oh, I look at it and go, well, everything's going to be fine for us. I'm like, this throws everybody's cards into the air, but because it is if you think of it as a weapon, which is unfortunately one of the ways you must think of it, you'll realize you can't slow down, you can't stop. So yeah, we need more nuclear, more data centers, more investments into the US. And the fact that Trump is aggregating international support for this, I think is really, really important. And I'll trust you to stop me if this fractal gets uninteresting. But when you look at Japan, they've really stagnated for a long time. And only Masa-san at SoftBank has been taking these huge swings.
Yeah, he's going for it.
Dude, and look, he's had some huge catastrophic misses, but he hits just enough that this guy continues to be one of the greatest investors of all time. And this, like, if he's really planting a flag and saying, we Japan, who have real beef with China, like there is crazy historical friction, we're going to plant our flag with America. That's a really good sign, especially when it's 500 billion.
Yeah, that's definitely a win. And to your point, this is the runway that we asked for. Trump said he was going to come in and do something for AI. He took away regulations. He gave us a blank check and said, okay, now go. So from Sam Altman's perspective, at this point, it's just a matter of weeks, months before AGI. I feel like
I can't figure out what to think about Sam Altman. I don't know if he's so quiet and unassuming. Like, is he an evil genius? I literally asked this earlier. You were here when I said it. And one of our teammates here was like, yes. Yeah. And I was like, he's doing crazy moves from taking a 501c3 company and turning it into a for-profit company is already crazy. And we'll see if that ends up happening. But I think the most interesting thing with the Sam Altman connection is you've got Trump now connected to Altman in a huge way, connected to Elon in a huge way, but Elon and Altman hate each other.
Yeah.
And that is going to play out in very interesting ways, but shows me that Trump is doing what he thinks at a minimum is good for his legacy. Yeah. And as long as he ties America thriving to his legacy, which does seem like his play, we're all going to win. And he is so far, and it's so early. So, play this in 6 months and it may look ridiculous, but so far it really does seem like he's able to get these guys to join him, either because he's telling Elon what he wants to hear about going to Mars, or who knows what he's promising Sam. But it is right now, I'm seeing very encouraging signs of somebody who's getting very disparate people to work together. And that is super encouraging.
100%. It's hilarious because last week we showed the Will Smith video of Spaghetti 12 months ago and Spaghetti now. So now imagine 2 years from now with a $500 billion with a B investment. Who knows what happens next? So
also the models are getting way more efficient. This is where China is really flexing its muscle. Is it showing, look, you can train these with a lot less energy need, a lot less compute need by getting the models way more efficient. And so if you're building these gigantor brains and they are dramatically more efficient, now all of a sudden, what let's say would have been a 1-to-1 at the size of computer brain that we're building now could be 100-to-1 or 1,000-to-1. And so that's the same as making that facility 1,000 times bigger. Sheesh. And so, this is just going to, it's going to get so interesting, but it's going to move so fast. Yeah. The rate of change is just going to be blinding. It's going to be blinding. And this is going to be, it's going to be mixed. It's going to be mixed. There's no two ways about it. I'm as anxious as I am thrilled.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens, but Trump has not been slowing down. On his first day, he had a slew of executive orders. We're not going to cover all 200 of them, but we'll cover a couple of the top ones. There was some that highlighted civic pride. That's the beautiful architecture, the restoration of merit. He ended some DEI programs. He had some where he covered fiscal responsibility for the emergency price relief, putting people over fish, flowing the water down in Southern California, with hiring and regulatory freezes for the government until his people are in. And he also kind of moved first his America First agenda, emergency situation at the southern border, ended birthright citizenship, 90-day pause on foreign aid, and he did some major energy initiatives to build so we can produce energy locally, as well as withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, and the World Health Organization. Yeah, so he has been busy. So
it's very busy, and it's interesting to see what's going to happen. So I think it is really fascinating that Trump had 4 years on, did not know what he was doing, way in over his head, loses, now comes back and has had 4 years to plan, to realize what this game is, come back way stronger. and now only has 4 years to cement a legacy. And you're seeing him move very fast because he understands what he can do with the 4 years, but that they have to be incredibly organized, incredibly focused. And to come in with such a clear mandate from the people it's just really created an interesting vibe that I'm really excited to see what comes to fruition. But with the executive orders, it signals to people exactly what he's moving towards. And so you alluded to this as you just went through those. We went through and we bucketed them into what I think they should be grouped as. People will group these, I think, in very different ways. But now let's go through each of these buckets in the way that we didn't, again, go through all of them, but I think he's signaling some very interesting things. The idea of civic pride, which is the first one, which were the ones that we put into that bucket?
The beautiful architecture, the restoration of merit.
Merit, that's the big one. So I want to combine this idea of merit with the notion of we want to make civic buildings architecturally beautiful. Those two things to me feel like they belong to the same grouping because rather than talking about merit-based stuff as like this exodus out of DEI, or we're trying to move away from the woke mind virus, the reason I don't like that framing is because I think people have to understand you want the tension between the left and the right. I think they are evolutionary mandated, necessary things in humans to get us to function together as a cohesive society. And so you need people that are no man left behind, like we have to be compassionate towards each other. And this goes back to, from an evolutionary standpoint, you didn't have refrigeration. So the only way to store calories that you couldn't eat right in the moment was to give them to somebody else. And so you're rewarded tremendously by taking care of the people in the group, because one day it's going to be you that's down, you need to be taken care of. So we have that impulse. And there's been so much focus on the DEI way that plays out, where it's like become sort of toxic and no longer merit-based. But the impulse from an evolutionary standpoint, I think, is really important. And if you think about it manifesting as like the military with the no man left behind, like I will go into enemy fire to try to save somebody that's been injured. They'll even try not to leave a dead body behind. And that impulse, like if you think about it manifesting in such an honorable way like that, it will stop people from people on the right wanting to throw people out on the left. So I think that's really, really important. So instead, if people can think of it as, all right, merit and civic pride, those belong together. And what they are is merit matters a lot. And the only way that we're going to get ahead is if we look at it and say, look, hard work works. It should be celebrated. We should venerate that. And by the way, these institutions, which are meant to help us all thrive as one big community, if we take pride in that, if we don't let litter be on the streets, if we don't let homeless encampments be everywhere, and instead say, not only should these buildings be functional, but they should be spaces of reverence, that they should have a sacred element to them. And as religion has died, that sense of the sacred has gone with it. And if you go to Washington, D.C., it just feels different when you're there. And you feel very much like you're in an outdoor museum. And I mean museum it is a space of reverence. And when you go in and you read like Lincoln's words in the Lincoln Memorial, first of all, that fucker could write. Like that shit just is so inspiring. But it's so laden with religious language and words and references. And so as that has lost its way, so has this sense of making these hallowed places. And this executive order, to me, tied to merit, that points at that impulse. And this is the right's way of saying, this is the part that we bring, the personal responsibility to venerate hard work and success. And I think just as one should really be embracing how important it is to think about the whole group and to not want to see people struggle and to want to elevate the whole group, you should also understand the free rider problem, and that you want these hardcore motherfuckers and to be like, yo, they are the best of us. They are the most accomplished. And we want to elevate that, anybody who's striving for that. And we want to acknowledge and recognize when people achieve something extraordinary. Okay, because we are about to be back on a world stage where this stuff is going to matter. And for the last, 70 years, it's been in the West relatively calm. I think that period's over. And so if we don't re-embrace all this stuff, we're going to be in trouble. So this is the right asserting that side. Yeah. Again, there should be a balanced tension between the left and the right. So I really like that. And if people hear those executive orders, that return to merit, the celebration of all that, the beautification of public and civic spaces, I think they'll be moving in the right direction. I don't want that to be a left-right divide thing. I want to see everybody get behind that.
Be proud to be an American again.
Yeah, exactly. And look, everybody should be proud of their team.
Yeah.
So if you're from Yugoslavia, I want you to be proud of being from Yugoslavia. If you're from Japan, be proud of that. And of course, if you're in a state that is our enemy, I would still expect you to be proud of your country. Yeah. So, but understanding this is how we're ultimately going to get the best out of each other. Now, as always, there is pathology on both sides. And so this can go too far. And that's why you need that balance. But that bucket is particularly exciting to me. I'm way prone as somebody who grew up in the 80s and knows what it's like to be super proud of America. Yeah. And when you hear the national anthem and you see the flag waving, that shit is so rad. It was so jarring for me to watch the American flag become like a thing that people frowned on or they tear down, at least in LA, if you hung it outside. That was so weird to me. Just having grown up with, the Schwarzenegger era, the just like America is the best. I don't know. Anyway, that makes me sad. The next bucket.
Fiscal responsibility.
Yeah. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Yeah. So I love all the civic stuff. Yay. It's like, it's reverence. It's seeing things as sacred. It's spiritual. This is the rubber meets the road. And at some point, like you got to run a balanced budget and you have to have a way to actually fund all the things that you want to do. And you can't keep robbing from the future, which is what we're doing right now. As somebody who has kids, I hope that you really internalize that we can live well now at their expense, but that seems evil, if I may be so bold. And so a return to fiscal responsibility. And look, I don't know if he's going to be able to achieve it. I expect virtually all of his executive orders to be fought against tooth and nail. So I'm speaking only to what I think these signal and what they represent, and why I hope people get behind them, because whether you're running a company, whether you're running a household, you need to say, this is how much we make. This is how much we can spend. And it forces people to prioritize. And I really believe one of the great derangements of modern society is an inability to define your values and let your values determine your priorities. And when you're not forced to do things in priority order, you end up with a mess. And so fiscal responsibility is really about forcing everybody to say, we think this is more important than this other thing that is also incredibly important. And when I look at entrepreneurs, so I coach entrepreneurs a lot for people that don't know that about me. And one of the things that I find that they're almost universally terrible at, and I'm talking about people with hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue annually, and they're still absolutely terrible at this, is prioritizing. And if you let everything be important, nothing's important. So, and I know I use this example a lot, but it's because both of these things are incredibly important. And so being able to rank order them is a sign of my value system. So America first as staying the world's greatest economic and military superpower. That's America first. Priority number one. America first, priority number two, also very important. And I get why this really matters to people, is just making sure that Americans are doing well financially. Critically important, totally understand. But if I have to bring in some people from India or China or wherever to make sure that we stay number one military, number one economic, I'm going to do it because I think that is the thing that serves the most Americans. But you should be able to articulate what it is that you're fighting for. All right, so that was bucket 2 in his executive orders. Bucket 3?
America First. That's the emergency at the southern border, and birthright citizenship, 90-day pause on foreign aid, energy initiatives, withdrawals from the Paris Climate Accords, and the World Health Organization.
Yeah, so this one is probably the one that I'm the most like, okay, we're on a slope here and we need to be very thoughtful. There is a reason that societies fluctuate going back and forth between global minded to isolationist minded. And you're going to see that over and over and over throughout different countries, different time periods. And so we very much are in a populist moment where we ran I won't even say the globalist experiment, because I have a feeling it's always going to work this way, that when everything is stable and there is a knowable world order within that sphere of influence, you're going to globalize as much as you can. And given that we had this opportunity where both China and India were on the come up, it was like, man, going global was thrilling because you could get things at way cheaper prices. And I'm talking as a consumer, not just as an entrepreneur, that you were just able to get so many incredible things for really a fraction of what it would have cost to do it here in the US. However, you strengthen China. China was very shrewd during all of this. And they were like, thank you very much for the economic power. Now we're an economic power and we're building all these other alliances. America is making the classic empire mistake of you're spread out all over, being the world's policeman. You're spending money left, right, and center. You're having to print, which every reserve currency ever in all of human history has done, and done to the point where ultimately they lose that status. It's so historically predictable that you're going to be in that loop. So I get the retreat back to wanting to be protectionist and take care of yourself. And I actually think it's the right play, because you can't ignore that China's become a superpower. You can't ignore that they make like 70% of the drones that we use in our own military are made in China. So much of our stuff is made in China or other countries. And at a moment where we begin to re-atomize down into our individual nations, that is a huge point of weakness that will be leveraged against us. I think would have already been leveraged against us had China not hit economic hard times. So let's all be grateful for that. So I think it's good, but there's pathology on both sides. So if we go too far, isolationist, protectionist, then it becomes us against the world. And so I think Trump, given what I see, if with just Elon and Sam Altman, Trump is more than happy to go to different parties who don't like each other, but try to bring them together. Now look, Trump is bringing them together for the glory of Trump and hopefully America. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not delusional. Trump wants to secure his legacy. But for now, his legacy is married to making America great again. So cool. As long as there's no friction there, yay. You can always trust people to be selfish. And as long as the most selfish thing that Trump can do is make America strong economically and militarily, I'm here for it. So securing our border, I think, is hugely important. Making the cartels a terrorist group, I think, is hugely important. At the headline reading level, I have a feeling that's a bigger problem than we think it is. That may start rearing its ugly head in the coming years. Native born or native launched is probably the right way to think about it. Native launched terror attacks. I have a bad feeling we're going to see more of that. So all of that stuff feels like, okay, while I am a little paranoid, I think it's the right play. And so we'll just see if he tempers it.
These were the ones that jumped out to me for that reason, because it's a slippery slope between we have a problem at the border, let's secure it, to now we're doing mass deportations. And I know that everybody should be here.
Do you have beef with mass deportations?
I think there's second order consequences we're not thinking about.
Maybe.
So yes, let's get all
cost, or are you just worried about people get caught in the net that shouldn't have been sent back, and now their lives are going to be horrific?
Yeah, I'm worried about the people. I think that they're going to get a shit end of the deal when this is all said and done, because the deportations are not like I'm taking you to your house. It's like, okay, line, get out, figure it out. But for even some of the rhetoric that like they're taking jobs, if we're looking at how is this going to affect the agriculture industry, how is this going to affect the construction industry, there's certain industries.
Do you think it will, for real?
If they're deporting at the numbers that we're talking about, I think that you're not gonna just be like, okay, I just lost 10 workers today, I'm cool. Like, I think there's gonna be,
man. So
you calling bullshit on that? You think it will be good?
Here's how I think it will work. When Obama just deported the shit out of everybody, millions. I didn't notice. You know what I mean? Like, so the reality is, I think that there is a heartstring pull of like, oh, I guarantee some people are going to get caught up that if you look closely, you're going to be like, oh shit, they sent a family back and they had like a 7-year-old and they all get murdered when they go back home. There's going to be shit like that. And it is going to be grotesque and horrifying. And it is going to really rip at the heartstrings. But the reality is, you get into this mess because you don't accept that there is no utopia. There's only trade-offs. And so there is human tragedy all the time, every day. And you have to do things at the level of policy, knowing, God, there's going to be horrible things that happen. And it just, there's no way, man. So this is where, like Thomas Sowell, and everything is trade-offs. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. And so you just can't step back and go, we've got a whole bunch of criminals just to keep it easy, right? And we caught them. We know they're here illegally, and we know they just did a horrific criminal offense. We know that they had a horrific criminal past before they got here, but they're here, and so we're going to let them stay. You can't. So you got to deport. And here's like, I believe the number is, there is one thing you can do to a family to increase the likelihood of violence by 100x. I'm almost certain this is accurate. If it's not to the number accurate, it is so directionally close, it might as well be. Do you know what that thing is?
No, what?
To have a step parent.
Really?
Dude, step parents beat the shit out of their kids. This is why you've got Cinderella, wicked stepmother. Like that whole thing is just, it doesn't mean that every step parent is bad. I'm sure the overwhelming number of them are amazing. But the unfortunate reality is that in homes with step parents, there is 100x a higher chance of abuse. So it's like, so what I bring that up to say, let's say that you deport a father who commits a crime, was here illegally, and let's really make it horrible. It was like kind of a petty crime. And so, but you had a policy, and the policy is like, you commit crimes, we're sending you back. And now that kid, their dad is gone, and a new dad comes into the picture, and all of a sudden they're getting abused. There will be just an unimaginable number of stories like that. I want to be very clear. I am not saying by default step parents beat their kids. I'm just saying there is a statistic. So there will be story after story after story like that. But you have to have a policy. You have to draw a line in the sand, and it is going to cause some bad things because it's a trade-off.
And the numbers right now definitely aren't sustainable. So we have to make a change. So we'll see. We'll monitor it. And the Obama thing is a good bring up too, because people forget that he was the most deportation happy. Millions. Yeah. And the economy did thrive under Obama. So maybe it is a big old nothing burger.
Don't go nothing burger because there's emotional realities, but yeah.
From an economic perspective, KPIs.
Yes. We'll get back to the show in a moment, but first, let's talk about a reality many business owners are facing. You understand the power of social media, but you're not posting consistently because the editing process can take precious hours out of your day. Nobody wants to spend hours cutting up videos when they could be running their business. The solution is to turn the things you're already doing into social media content automatically. That's why I'm excited about Opus Clip. Their Clip Anything AI tool is changing everything. All you have to do is upload any long-form video, and Clip Anything automatically finds the best moments and turns them into social-ready clips. Our social team at Impact Theory has been using it to streamline content creation, but this isn't just for media companies. It's for any business owner who needs to maintain a social presence without sacrificing hours to video editing. Here's your chance to try it. Go to opus.pro/clipanything and give it a try for free right now. That's opus.pro/clipanything. And now let's get back to the show.
Speaking of economic perspective, did you get on this Trump coin?
Oh, Jesus. I hate meme coins.
Full stop. You don't have a single meme coin?
No. So
really
none, zero. So I have some meme NFTs, but no meme coins.
Got you.
So here's my take on meme coins. God bless you. It's just gambling. So you know my whole thesis. I want to be very clear. Meme coins are because people want to gamble. And people want to gamble, one, because I think humans just like the instant gratification of a big win. So I think there's a dopamine feedback loop, which is why if you have Parkinson's disease, again, directionally, what I'm about to say is all directionally correct, if not literally correct. But I believe with Parkinson's, because it's a dopamine deficiency, when you start taking the medication, people will develop like gambling addictions and other crazy shit. But at the same time, I think that you also have the youth that have a lot of pent up frustration that they've been iced out of the financial system. They can't afford a house. All the things that their parents told them, go get a good education. You're now going to be hugely in debt. Go buy a house. I can't because they're way too expensive and I'm hugely in debt. And so all the lore that they've been given is really just out of reach. And so we're now beginning to slowly update that that's actually not going to be the way that this generation gets wealthy. And on top of that, you're creating this moment where things are going from analog to digital. And so the rate of change is so fast that regulators can't keep up with it. So you have the Occupy Wall Street vibe, Wall Street bets from Reddit vibe, with a moment in time where they can create these meme coins, and there's so much lack of clarity around what you can and can't do. And it allows them to just gamble on culture. And so I have a thesis that I'm going to round it to stock market, but it's really the entire ecosystem of investing. If you stop calling it investing and you start calling it gambling, then you will understand what it really is. But because it's a system created by incredibly smart people, like really scary, smart financial minds. And so it's like reading a legal contract. You don't understand it. So as a regulator, you're like, I don't really know what to do here. And so they've gotten all kinds of shit passed that everybody's just like, oh yeah, options trading. There's nothing weird about that. Dude, you're just betting whether a company goes up or down. What's the difference between betting on a sports team? In my opinion, literally nothing, except the financial markets have a dope cover story. And the cover story goes like this. By letting people gamble on these companies, you allow the companies to aggregate capital. And with that aggregated capital, they build the economic engine that has made America so great. Okay, that's amazing, man. And as long as everybody just goes, oh, cool, we let people gamble on this because we like the side effect of allowing these companies to do an IPO, raise all the capital, and then let people gamble whether it goes up, whether it goes down, and just all kinds of crazy derivatives and all this like crazy shit that I don't understand 90% of it. But no matter who I talk to, no one has disproven that all just fancy gambling. Okay, so really smart guys make this thing up. People don't understand it well enough to say you can't do that because they just don't understand it well enough to regulate it appropriately. So then you get something like sports where people get it. That's dumb. And there's no cover story. It doesn't add up to anything. So we're not going to let you bet on that. So you get this moment where there's the frustration about the current system that we have. Current system is being used by the elites to basically continue to make money while the average person can't get ahead. And so they create these meme coins and just YOLO and just gamble. And it is exactly like sports betting. So I don't think that in the long run that people are going to win. I think that they will have fun just like they will have fun at a casino. But on a long enough timeline, most people are going to lose money. It is not going to be the normal person that is going to go in and, be betting like even 52 or 55% right. And so they're just going to miss just enough that they're never able to get ahead, but they had a great time. So if the youth want that financial system, they're going to get it because the youth will ultimately get the world that they want. But that's why I don't fuck with it. It's just gambling. There's no additional knock-on effect of, well, at least I can do long-term investing because of this secondary effect if it really does build a company. But I want to remind everybody, even though it's really building a company, it still is just gambling. Like when you own the stock, you're just gambling that someone down the line will be willing to pay more for it than you. So it's just gambling unless it pays dividends. I always have to caveat that. And so look, this stuff is very complicated. And that's how we get these divergent systems. And so you're seeing the fancy version of gambling and you're seeing the just straightforward meme coin gambling.
I resonate with that though, because that's the way to shoot your shot. That's the way to get big. That's the way to get rich. I compare it almost to the...
Wait. That's the way to get rich? Meme coins?
Think about it from a wild, wild west perspective and how some people used to go out west to kind of try to find gold, or some people used to try to dig wells to try to hit oil. Like there's that level of...
And what do people always say about the gold rush? Who got rich in the gold rush?
I thought it was the country dudes with the hat, the prospectors.
No, none of those. They all fucking went broke. All of them. It's always in the picks and shovels. Always in the picks and shovels. The only people that are going to get rich on the meme coins, because they'll even say, well, it's the people that pump and dump. Those fools are going to try to do it over again and over again. They're ultimately going to lose everything. Like none of those guys ride off into the sunset. And if they do, it will be the smallest number of people. The reality is it's going to be the exchanges. They'll make out like fucking bandits because whether you win or lose doesn't matter. So Coinbase is going to make fucking bank off of this stuff. But I just don't see it, man. The reason that the stock market has worked is because you could just put money into an index fund and just say, basically, I'm just betting on the US economy. Cool. That gives people like you have to do it. Let's be very clear about that. Because you have to beat inflation, but people are not going, some people will get rich in meme coins, but the people that have really gotten rich in crypto are Bitcoiners, probably some Ethereum people, the things that you can buy and hold for years and years and years. Yeah. That's going to be anything where it's a long-term trend, but meme coins are betting on culture. You're literally just saying, like, let's take the Trump meme coin. Here's what's going on. Why does Trump make such a great meme coin? Because culturally, nobody has more focus than him. So you're going to get this ultra high volatility. Remember, people want volatility because they're gambling. So they're saying, if the price doesn't change, what are you betting against?
Yeah, what's the point?
Right. The only thing to bet against is price go up or price go down. That is the bet. And so if price static, no bet. So we need something with a ton of attention. So people are really paying attention to it so that the price will swing wildly. So literally hours before we recorded this, Trump said, oh, I don't know much about my meme coins. Price dropped by 30%. Okay. Crazy. Now people are going to squawk and they're going to freak out. But the reality is people want that volatility. And so people are going to be laughing saying, I bet against all these fools that didn't realize the price was going to go down. So I bought the second I heard about it. And when it spiked up, however much it spiked up, I got out immediately because greater fool theory. Okay. That's the meme coin game. And so it's going to be all these private groups where people are talking. What do we think? Do we think it's going to keep going up or are we going to get out? It's just on and on and on and on and on. And so these guys bet on culture. It attracts the same people that poker attracts. And in the final analysis, man, I'm guessing, but I'm going to guess 5% of the people make the money. 5%. 95% are all the greater fools. And they're the exit liquidity as they're known, lovingly referred to as dumb money.
So you're saying there's a chance, 5%.
I'm saying there's a chance, Drew.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to get this oligarchy money because Trump had $1 trillion inauguration. There was Bezos was in there, Zuckerberg was in there, Musk was in there, David Sachs didn't even get a picture. He was somewhere in there, like with banks. So.
Yeah, why didn't we see Sachs?
Yeah, we didn't see Sachs in there. So,
okay, so I admit,
the oligarchy is strong with this one.
Look at this image. I admit I felt some kind of way. I was like, oh my, yeah, there's a lot of wealth there. Okay, so one, people should be paranoid because oligarchy simply means that a small number of people rule over the majority. Now, they can rule over them because it's a caste system. They can rule over them because they're in the right religion. They can rule over them because they're wealthy. So oligarchy is real. Money is extremely powerful. And it's very easy to get people's attention. And so this could, of course, slide into oligarchy. I don't think we're there yet. I think that's very delusional to say that we are. But I like that people are paying attention. I like that they're paranoid that this could become that. I think that's very wise. The reason I'm not, even though it does hit me, I would be lying if I said it didn't. The reason that I'm still optimistic is I think there's two things happening at once. That these guys are there because they're insanely good at capital allocation, at building businesses, at identifying trends, at being early movers. And so they get it. They know how to play this game. The reason they have the money is because they're very good operators. They are incredibly smart. And so I want the smartest people whispering in the president's ear about how to make the country great. And as long as they all understand the single most selfish thing they could do is have a thriving middle class, because ultimately that's who buys their products. And anybody that's paid attention to world history knows when inequality gets too much, they literally come and kill the rich. They murder you.
Yeah.
Okay. Not metaphorically. They actually separate your head from your body. So you're already seeing people cheer the United Healthcare CEO getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
You saw people cheer when the Pacific Palisades, which happens to be a very expensive neighborhood, burned to the ground. Mm-hmm. Nobody talked about the trailer parks that burned because that doesn't fit the narrative. Yeah. But if people can see the signs, it's like, boys and girls, just be selfish. Yeah. Just be selfish and protect your long-term interest by making sure that we have a thriving middle class. So these guys, everyone in that picture, as far as I know, is self-made. Mm-hmm. So we want the most successful people running businesses to be talking about how to execute well. Yeah. What we don't want is them shoveling money towards all the things that they care about. Now, anybody that's like, it shouldn't be business owners, it should be politicians, I will point you towards, what's her name? Everybody follows her, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you. So it's like kids. It's not like politicians. You don't have to worry about them. Yeah. But we have to be vigilant because this can go bad very, very fast. But for now, I would remain optimistic that we have wildly mismanaged the government in that every 100 days, I think it's actually a little faster now, we add $1 trillion to the debt. Sheesh. So you have to do something. And with the looming threat of AI and us going into a Cold War with China, you need the best and the brightest. Yeah. And there is like something going on with the best and the brightest now are actually interested in being in government. That is fascinating.
Yeah, that never used to happen.
Who was saying this? That now, I think it was Anthony Pompliano, pointed out that now going in, like if you get on the Doge committee, that would be like having a Stanford or a Harvard MBA, where people go, oh, damn. Yeah. Like, okay, you must really be bright to have gotten on that group. And now that it's high status to be in the government, more and more really bright people are going to want to go to the government. And that's huge. That will resound to our benefit.
No, that's definitely a game changer. I had like a mentor one time tell me that like to be a millionaire, you could do that by yourself, but to be a billionaire, you have to create a certain level of value. So as I look at this picture and I see that everybody's kind of nervous and upset, I always default to that. So I say like, okay, Elon Musk, yes, he's this big bad car, but he's this big bad guy, but everybody loves his cars. Or you see the CEO from Google, it's like, yes, he's this big bad guy, but you use his email. Everybody hates Bezos, but they need their packages there 2 days later. Everybody hates Zuckerberg, so they rant on his social network. So it's like these people have incorporated themselves into your lives to a sense that you operate with, most of them minus Elon probably, every day, every other day. So it's like to then make them the villain, even though you directly benefit from their invention, is a little bit of a oxymoron. Like it's a weird kind of way to like.
Have you read Ayn Rand? Oh man, Atlas Shrugged is interesting. It is like a young adult's book. The writing itself isn't great, but the core thesis is like, hey, there are people that can build businesses and it is ridiculously difficult. And if you think that they're the parasite and that taxes aren't the parasite, like what do you tax if you don't have people that are able to create that stuff? And look, I'm obviously wired that way, which is why I pursued entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. But man, there's a really great quote I'm going to paraphrase that says, communists believe that redistribution is the miracle, not the generation of the capital in the first place. And people need to wrap their heads around. The hard part is generating the capital, of doing something that people value so much that they will pay you more than it costs you to create that. That is so hard to do. Oh my God, it's so hard. Taxing is easy.
Yeah. Well said. So if you had to like scale it, 1 being like, we're pretty good.
What's my anxiety level for oligarchy?
For oligarchy.
If 10 is we're in Russia and people are getting murdered in the background for saying something, we're at a 2.
Okay.
We're on the radar. We're not on a 1.
Up. Yeah.
We're certainly not a 0.
Okay.
But yeah, we're a very, very, very long way from that. We still have the tension between the left and the right. if we become a one-party country, that would scare me.
Yeah.
Because then people rise to the top of that political party and they just fucking dominate. And the only way to do it at that point is through either literal violence or political violence. You need look no farther than China. It's the story of how Xi Jinping came to power is pretty fucking crazy.
Sheesh. Hopefully we don't repeat that. All right, moving on. Michael Saylor doubled down on Bitcoin again, doing another purchase. Can we pull it up? I believe it was like 1.1 billion, right?
Yeah, homeboy just is gobbling. Yeah, 1.1 billion for another, how many? 11,000 Bitcoin for a total of 461,000
at a 63
Bitcoin.
average.
Goodness gracious.
Sheesh.
That is crazy. I really am, my brain melts when I think about what he figured out about the reality of our financial system. So remember, Michael Saylor was technically he's not anymore, he's the chairman, but he was the CEO of a publicly traded company called MicroStrategy. And he has a great business, profitable, all this money in the bank. And he realized our stock price is getting punished because no one sees a path to us getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So even though we have a profitable business, we're doing great, something like $50 million in profit a year. I mean, like really making real money. And the street was just like, nah, because again, what is it? It's gambling, price go up. So the street's like, we don't like this.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, wait, this is crazy. And because of inflation, the money that I have sitting in the bank is being devalued like crazy. So what do? Do I go buy a bunch of boats, yachts? Like, what do? I need to do something with my money such that it can't be inflated away. Discovers Bitcoin and realizes, oh my God, like this is the perfect way to store your wealth. Not only is it going up in value, but he sees finance as having physics that Bitcoin matches perfectly. And so he likens it to a waterfall. And he was like, once you realize that the laws of physics dictate that water evaporates, collects on a mountain, runs down the mountain, collects in a lake. And as long as there's a gap that leads to an area that's lower, the water is always going to run through that gap into the lower area. And so he's like, that is the perfect analogy for fiat money moving away from being inflated out of existence into sound money, which is Bitcoin. And so he's like, as long as that reality exists, meaning as long as there's inflation, fiat money is going to flow into Bitcoin. It just is. Like, that's the physics, that money seeks that state. And he's not wrong. Like, as people wake up to, wait a second, I can put my money in there and it won't be inflated. Okay, more and more people are going to put their money there. And so, but that a lot of people get. In fact, he wasn't even early to that. What he saw was, oh my God, I can put it on the treasury of my company, and now I can pull a proxy for the entire financial gambling mechanism, the whole casino of the stock market. I can overlay it onto Bitcoin via my publicly traded company. It is so fucking brilliant. And so he's got all these different derivatives that people can buy for either high risk, low risk.
I was in a leverage one.
Oh my God. So brilliant. So brilliant. And to me, at least, makes it very clear to me that the real wisdom there is just accepting the financial markets are a gambling system. I can pull that gambling system over into Bitcoin and let people gamble against Bitcoin in this period where there's no other way to do it other than to just buy Bitcoin directly, but you don't get all the different derivatives. I mean, just brilliant. It's so brilliant. And he's been rewarded. He is, I believe, either right behind NVIDIA, tied from NVIDIA, or a little over. But in the conversation with NVIDIA, dude, like, that's insane.
To like the number 4 software like company back in the day, and then now with this new ad, it's holding it down. But hey,
pure insanity.
I'm one of the leverage ones. He done bought me dinner a couple days, so thank you, Michael Saylor. I will take those swings. It's interesting though, to your point of people go for the volatility. He pretty much was like, my stock doesn't move, add Bitcoin, and now my stock is moving with the volatility. Like,
correct.
Literally just strapped a motor to it, and now it's just going.
Bitcoin is volatile, and now his company is a Bitcoin company.
Exactly. Crazy. Well done. And last but not least, we caught your boy Zuck glancing over.
This is so funny.
So I thought it would be cool to ask.
Okay, this is AI. I want everyone to be very clear.
This is the real
AI. This is AI. But Jesus, is it funny? So I so feel his pain. So first of all, as a man, I just want to say, evolution has created us such that the female form reaches inside your brain and squeezes dopamine centers, all kinds of fascinating neurochemicals. I am not above this. This is why I find this so funny. I am laughing partly out of anxiety. But a camera shutter can be like 1/1000th of a second. So this motherfucker thought I can just sneak. The thing is, I bet he didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Out of the corner of his eye, he saw cleavage. Boom, his brain says, look, which there are evolutionary reasons why you would do that. He looks, he immediately looks away, I would like to believe, but the camera, boom, catches him. And they could have been doing that. And they just happened to get him that 1 second when he glances over wittingly. And now it's just memed to fucking death.
That's hilarious.
With this AI slow pushing. Jesus.
To your point, he could have been looking for 1 second and now it's immortalized.
A fraction of a second.
Yeah, it's immortalized.
And because of AI, the first time I saw this, your brain doesn't go, oh, this is AI. You're just like, oh my God. And then of course it kicks in you like, this has to be AI. But that is high.
Have you ever got zucked? Have you ever got caught looking?
I don't think so. First of all, my wife is, God bless her soul, and I hope she can hear my voice right now. We were once at a pool party and there were these two women topless making out. This is at the Roosevelt Hotel. This is not like some crazy.
She's like Miami somewhere.
No, it literally the Roosevelt Hotel. I could not have been more surprised that this was happening. I'm there with my my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my wife. We're all just enjoying a pool party, and all of a sudden my wife is like shaking me by the shoulder. She's like, "You've got to see this," and so she pointed it out to me. So God bless my wife, is not weird about that at all in the slightest. But as an entrepreneur, I literally 15 years ago had to say, you've got to shut that part of your brain off. Yeah. So when I'm in the office, I just fucking kill it, man. So I'm like, if I'm walking up the stairs behind a woman, no universe, not a shot, not a glance, no look, like, bro, you just can't, because now you've got power dynamics. That shit is so fucking high risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't play that game. But that is I have to actively like turn that part of my brain off when I'm stepping into the office. You just have to fucking kill it.
It's hilarious. I used to work for a software company out in Phoenix, and sales guys, they were getting killed with their numbers. They weren't able to convert. They created a AI bot on LinkedIn. Her name was Alexis Kane.
Here we go.
Blonde hair, like busty, all those things.
Nice.
Their conversions like went through the roof. And I found out that there was like 3 iterations, and they were like, if the woman's name that they make up have an X in it, it like doubled it. Like,
really?
Again, like, so that's why it's Alexis like Kane. It was like, it had to be an X in the first name and like a short last name. Like they had this thing to a science. And I'm like, you guys are really creating fake LinkedIn profiles. And like, yes, they would send messages to the sales guys. Oh yeah, I'm free for lunch. We can meet tomorrow. And immediately.
Did you ever see the show Selling Sunset?
I haven't, no.
Oh my God, you got to check it out. Yeah. So it's the biggest, fanciest houses in LA. And 98% of the salespeople are very attractive women of a certain age. It just is, because you get the guy who's like, first of all, most of the buyers are going to be men. Yeah. And you get the guy that's like, I subconsciously, if nothing else, want to impress this woman. And guys can't help themselves. It is the ultimate signal to a woman that you can afford something like that. And women do not understand. No, many women do understand the power they have over a man who instantly becomes a fool for sexual attraction. It's
crazy.
Unbelievable.
Stay safe out there, fellas.
Stay very safe, gentlemen, and keep those ladies safe by being a good gentleman. May it always be such. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Peace. If you like this conversation, check out this episode to learn more.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I hope you packed your own parachute, because this is day 1 of the first 100 days of the second Trump presidency. And it is going to be a high wire balancing act of mainlining populism, protectionism, while still